and you can't fall asleep, 'cause he'll go balls deep on a card coming Saturday night. It's Big Brown, the Big Brown breakdown coming to your town. He's big and he's brown, the Big Brown.
Oh man, we got the official theme song, the Big Brown Breakdown. Wouldn't be B squared, it'd be, what is it? B
flat?
Well, what's the B with the 3 on it? B squared.
B cubed.
B cubed. What's up, B cubed? B cubed followers? We're back in this bitch. Rainy day. It's been super rainy in LA. Last night at the Comedy Store, I actually apologized to a fan who came in from Montreal after because the Comedy Store is interesting because it's probably the toughest room in LA because it's tourists or it's LA people who they know their comedy. You got legends there all the time, so it's the high level of comedy. Mm-hmm. And last night was cool because Rogan, Callan, myself, Theo Von, and a lot of it is our type of crowd. It's like our dude. So it was a special night, man. Sold out crowd. Anyways, afterwards, the gang were all hanging out back there in the front of the store. And this fan who was at the show, he's from Montreal and he's with a bunch of guys. And he's talking to us how he's excited to come. And I didn't know, I don't know. Listen, 2 nights in a row for me staying up late. Like, I'm a day walker, man. Everyone else, these night walkers. I don't do well at night, I do my set, but I can't hang out like Cal until 4 in the morning. Or, Rogan's kind of the same. He does his thing, goes home. I do my thing, I go home. Yeah. And I was all out of wit and everything. The guy's talking to me. I just go, sorry about the weather, man. And he goes, what? And I go, sorry, it's raining. And he goes, okay. I didn't know what to say. I was just like, sorry about this. I'm fucking Mr. Weatherman. He left. I was so embarrassed. I'm like, oh God, that's all I got for that guy. It was cool though. Do you know who Tony Blair is?
Yes, he's some British dude.
No, you're talking. Yeah, I know. So this is a different Tony Blair. Tony Blair is the guy that Rogan replaced when he came to the UFC. He's like a hands, like weapon, crisis. I don't know exactly what term you would describe this gentleman's background, but he deals in like high pressure crisis situations. He trains all the military, special forces, cops, SWAT team, trains them in hand to hand. Like if there is a shooter, a random shooter, if there is a guy with a bomb, if there's a guy with a knife and you're with your family, how you should deal with the situation. Yeah. We went to dinner with him afterwards and it was fascinating stuff. Fascinating.
Intense, I bet.
Yeah, he's talking about people's, everyone's natural reaction, put their hands up. Like that's the reaction. It's just, he was saying like in knife fights or in car accidents, a lot of time people, they have scars or marks and scratches all over their hands because if you go through a window, your first thing is to protect your face. If you're going to crash, first thing you do is lift your hand. So I guess obviously that's a waste of time. So if someone's going to stab you, I guess there's other moves. He's trying to explain it to me. I was like, yeah, I guess, man.
Hands up.
Different world.
So when people are shooting, people automatically put their hands up.
Yeah, well, he says a lot of time, like if even soldiers, if their natural reactions turn their face away. Oh shit! When really they should be. Now I'm not like Tim Kennedy. There's bullets. He doesn't even blink. He just shoot straight forward. But most guys are like, at least if it's bubble, like there's a jerk reaction. He's saying that's like critical timing. Kind of stressed me out. Not gonna lie to you guys, but yeah, shout out to Skylar Astin for giving us the new theme song. Hope you guys enjoy that. And how talented is that kid? Comes in here. He reached out to me. He goes, dude, because I think you and I were talking about it. I was like, we need a theme song. And you were working on it. We were thinking about different things. And Skylar sends me just a sample of him singing into the phone. He's like, dude, I can do it. I'm like, shit, you're hired.
You sent me that sample. I'm like, all right,
that's the guy, right?
Hell yeah,
that's the guy.
So sick.
I just want something different. Everyone's like, it's too long. Shut it. Shut it.
Oh, real quick while you're on that, that sick keyboard that we brought in?
Yes, it was all black and red. I've never seen something like that.
Yes, it's a sick keyboard. My buddy Trevor from Bermuda Sound Co., he let us use it.
Well, that's cool,
and
man.
Skylar went to town on it, dude.
He sure did. He's hitting the shit out of those keys. Yeah. Felt bad for the keys.
He composed the entire song, too. Dude, he's so
He's
talented.
been doing it since he's a little protege.
Amazing.
He's a beast, man. I mean, not a crazy fight week to get into. Before we get into all of it, the Fighting the Kid is live next week, starting Wednesday. We're in Vancouver. Thursday, Vancouver is sold out, and then we mosey on down to Seattle on Friday, and we end in Portland on Saturday. So that's next week as you guys are listening to this. Vancouver, Wednesday, Thursday, Seattle on Friday, and we're in Portland on Saturday. Get your tickets, tfatk.com right now. And San Francisco's almost sold out, so we might add another show there, but that bad boy is almost sold out for the February 9th. So we might add a date on the 10th. Seeing it should be sold out in the next 1 or 2 days. If that does happen, they'll probably add another date to San Francisco. And then I'll have some big news in regards to the one-man show, the Big Brown Breakdown, comedy, UFC, think of this show, but more entertaining on steroids. But I'm not on steroids, so that doesn't make sense. Either way, it's going to be dope. One-man show. I'll have some news for you guys soon. That's exciting, but probably the first week of March, and it will be in the Los Angeles area. My first one-man show. I'm pretty pumped about it. I'll have news for you guys probably next week. The artwork's done. Everything's done. The venue's done. I'm just going to wait probably another week to announce it before tickets go on sale, because they go on sale next week, and I just want to do it all at the same time. But exciting stuff, man. 2017's coming together. All right, man. Chin, taking on the chin. Let's jump into it. What do we got this week?
Sounds good. The first thing is Mark Hunt. He sues the UFC. How crazy is this?
And then he's fighting on UFC 209, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
UFC 209. Awkward. God, where do you even start with this? I mean, it's tough to argue that Mark Hunt doesn't have a point here, and you can see why he's doing it. And he's saying that the UFC knew outside those 4 months that they knew Brock was going to come back, so they gave him that exemption. You know, if he can prove that, you know, he definitely has a case. I agree with Mark Hunt on a lot of this. I mean, the allegations of racketeering, conspiracy, and fraud, you know, those are heavy claims, but obviously you shoot for the moon and hopefully you land somewhere on the stars. And when you shoot for the moon, I mean, you completely win this entire case on racketeering, conspiracy, and fraud, but you land on maybe one of those, or you settle out of court for a huge sum. Who knows? But Mark has a great point here because, you know, the way I see it, I would say it's the shadiest deal that the UFC has ever done. Bringing Lesnar in, I think it was an act of desperation. I think UFC 200 was kind of their big showcase to say to all these other companies that they wanted to sell. They wanted to say, hey, look how good 200 did. Yeah. And then when John Jones, you know, with his issues and Ronda not fighting on there, and I don't think that card would have been anywhere near the draw it would have been without Brock Lesnar. So it was an act of desperation. So it was all cylinders firing no matter what the cost is, because by the time the company's in sale and the wheels are in motion, Brock, they're going to have time on that. So him failing the test, that came out fucking weeks and weeks later. Mm-hmm. And you just have to be naive to think Brock Lesnar's not taking anything. I mean, but of course, sir. And then to find out that he has some weird exemption because it was just the shadiest deal of all time. So conspiracy in that regards, correct, 100%. And Mark has, and hopefully he saved maybe these texts or email exchanges, or I doubt he recorded the conversations. He might have. I mean, Mark's, he's not a stupid guy, but they told him months before this, hey, be ready for UFC 200 because we could have a big name for you.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
So I honestly think they knew Brock was going to fight this entire time. And I think in the WWE, obviously, steroids are part of that game. I'm sure I'm going to get some WWE haters or people crying, but I hate to tell you, that's what those boys do. And it's also what all professional athletes do.
A lot of them.
A lot of them. It's just part of the game. But to think Brock Lesnar's not on him, and then he gets this weird exemption, it was just the perfect shitstorm to get UFC to sell for $4 billion and save UFC 200 at the expense of Mark Hunt. And I think it's just bad business because I think the UFC could have handled this so much better. I mean, why take this black guy? How easy would have it to been that Dana goes, shit, man, we are fucking Mark Hunt here. How much money do we make on UFC 200? And then Brock Lesnar fails the steroid test and he gets fined $250,000. But from what I heard, he got paid the highest like flat fee, although they show whatever he got, $2 or $3 million from the commission. I heard he got way more money than that. I heard he got paid at the time. I don't know if he got paid more than Conor. At the time, he was the highest flat fee paid fighter of all time for UFC 200. So that $250,000, that's not shit.
Yeah, nothing.
That doesn't go to Mark Hunt. That goes to the Nevada State Commission, which is silly as fuck. So why not just be like to Mark Hunt, like, listen, it was shady. We sold for $4 billion. We fucked up. Here's $1 million. And you don't have any of this negative. You're not taking any of this black eyes, none of this. This all goes away. We're not even talking about it. Mark Hunt's fighting. Everything's all good. Now imagine, as you guys are listening to this, maybe you're working in your office. Imagine going to work and you're suing that company and you have to see all those people and they know you're suing them. But I don't know how awkward is that. And I don't know the new people in the UFC office and who are running the promotion now. But I remember before, it was a pretty tight-knit family. And most of the time, and I guarantee if you ask them, those employees who, Burt Watson, Shonda, Schaller, all these people who you deal with during fight week are 99% of the time more likely to side with the fighter than the brass.
Yeah.
They're normal people. They get it. They're on the groundwork. They see the interaction of the fighter. They have more sympathy for the fighter. That's why when I retired, I thank them. I thank them instead of the UFC brass because they're just, most of them are heartless guys, and that's what it takes to get to where they're at. But I hope Mark wins. I think it's a step in the right direction because you can't do that. Because remember, Mark got mollywopped by Brock Lesnar or roided up Brock Lesnar. That's going to have some sort of effect on his health, the chemistry of his body, the makeup of his brain, his neurological system. I mean, his hormones, everything. He's going to pay for that down the road. Now, what's that worth to UFC? Obviously, they don't think much of it if they're not selling out of court, even talking to them. And people say, well, why didn't the UFC just yank him from UFC 209? They can't. Contractually, they can't. He could definitely sue him if they did that. So he'll still fight. But what they can do is control the promotion he gets. Yeah, I doubt he gets the big interviews. You won't see any countdown videos with him. You won't see him on UFC Tonight. I doubt UFC Tonight talks about him. So that's what you're going to see.
You're right. So they didn't actually announce this lawsuit until after he was scheduled to fight, right?
Well, I also think Mark Hunt was smart because I think he waited till he got the fight and then did this.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember Mark Hunt gave the UFC like a ton of opportunities to make it right.
He said, just put in the contract, if Overeem fails the steroid test, then we're good, man. Yeah. And they wouldn't do it. How many steroid guys? Look at Hunt's, bring up Hunt's record. Look at the steroid guys he's fought. Remember his epic fight against Bigfoot Silva. Bigfoot Silva test positive for steroids. I mean, he's fighting Alistair Overeem. He's the poster boy of PEDs. Let's be real here. And then so Brock Lesnar, I mean, Jesus Christ. So let's just go through this. Let's just go through this list. You ready? So he fights Brock Lesnar, juice to the gills. Yeah. Frank Mir tested positive for PEDs. Antonio Silva tested positive for PEDs. Stipe obviously clean as shit, beat the brakes off of him. Mm-hmm. And then Fabricio Verdum, Roy Nelson, then Big Silva again, Junior Dos Santos, Drew, blah, blah, blah. I said blah, 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 find me. But so, and then Josh Barnett, obviously in Pride, another guy who's tested positive, Overeem. So, I mean, he has a good argument here. Like, dude, look, especially in the UFC, look at his latest ones in the UFC. Scroll back up. Mm-hmm. So out of his last out of three out of his last 3 fights, and he's won 2 of them, and one's a no contest. The one that he lost to Brock Lesnar is a no contest, UFC 200. All 3 of those guys have failed PED tests. So, I mean, what are we doing here? He has a good argument, too. They need to use that in court.
Yeah. I remember him saying he didn't even get a phone. He was complaining that when he was making he was kind of yelling out like, hey, what's going on here? This is wrong. He didn't get even a phone call from the UFC, not once.
Nothing.
And he had to go on an aerial show. It's like, they didn't even call me.
Nothing.
And then he made that contract thing where he's like, just sign it to where if they're using and they get caught, they give me the money.
I can't.
Still no response.
I know. I can't decide. I'm on the fence. I don't know if the UFC brass now with Dana and whoever those other guys are just so Scrooge McDuck rich. They're just like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, man. Yeah, we did it. All right, he wants to sue. Really not our problem now, you know? Like if they're just so rich, they're not even that detailed oriented anymore. Like they're just like over it.
Yeah.
Or they're just, now you're dealing with suits, you're dealing with WME, you're dealing with the highest level lawyers, attorneys, and they're just like, you guys deal with it. You know, like we're out, man. Like this is your game now. I don't know.
What happens if, let's say he wins this, right? And he wins for the UFC racketeering and fraud and all that stuff. Does that do something to the UFC?
Oh yeah.
Does it take him down?
Opens up the floodgates.
Yeah.
Because, you know, stuff like this, you know, it's never been done really. I mean, Randy Couture tried the thing with Rampage, but to this extent where he fought a guy saying, you guys fucked me, sues and wins, it opens up the floodgates for everyone.
Yeah.
So guys are like, oh shit, we can do that. I doubt UFC makes this mistake again. You're going to see Brock Lesnar fight again in the UFC. That's happening. They are so desperate for ratings and for superstars. You're going to see, I would assume, I'd say 2017, 2008, you know what, 2017 stuff. I would say late 2017, 2018 for sure. You will see CM Punk back.
Yeah.
Probably headline a fight night. You'll see Brock Lesnar back. Ronda Rousey's a huge question mark, but you will see Brock Lesnar and CM Punk. They need the ratings. But yeah, my hat's off to Mark Hunt. I hope he wins, and the balls that it takes to even pursue something like this.
While he's under contract for a fight and still in the company.
That's how gangster that guy is. Oh, and good luck, UFC brass, intimidating that guy like you did Ariel Helwani. Let me know how that goes for you. Go ahead and have your security back him in the corner. Let me know how you guys what you guys wake up to the next morning when you figure out that, you know, he's no punk. That'd be hilarious. All right, what else you got?
All right, the next one is Floyd Mayweather saying that he offered Conor McGregor $15 million and Conor didn't want to accept. That's why the fight's not happening. Or apparently it's not happening, the boxing match.
And I took some heat for this. I said the fight that makes most sense for Conor next is Floyd Mayweather. You're looking at it from a business perspective, especially with WME owning the UFC now. Yeah. All they give a fuck about is entertainment. So if they could jump on board and promote it on their end, you got Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather even said on First Take, I watch First Take every morning, they go, is there any fight that could bring you out of retirement? He goes, the only fight I'm interested in is Conor McGregor. When I heard that, I'm like, we got something, folks. All the smoke and mirror, and, you know, I know Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp and Jason Whitlock and all these guys are, you know, they're looking for fucking, you know, trying to get the MMA crowd, and they're commenting on shit they don't know about. And that's all smoke and mirrors. But I'm telling, when I said this a year ago, I think I said on Jay and Dan, that this is there's a real possibility of this happening. And I know last time it was so close to happening, but again, it goes back to money. It goes back to money. And $15 million to Conor, that's not shit.
Considering how much this...
No, what do you mean $15 million? Okay. I mean, you're talking Conor's risking everything. That the odds are he's probably not going to win. He'd be a huge underdog. So he takes this huge risk going out of his comfort zone to come into your arena. $15 million, I would say you're off by $75 million, sir. You're off it by at least $50 million, if not $75 million, if you want this fight to happen. $15 million is a joke. Conor can make that in UFC. He's close to making that now per fight. Yeah, with pay-per-views and other stuff, revenue. But $15 million if I'm Conor, I don't do it for $15 million. The only way I do it is if it's a life-changing sum of money. $15 million is not life changing to Conor McGregor.
Conor, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. $15 million for anyone is a game changer. $15 million to Conor at this stage and where he's at in the UFC is not life changing. It's not worth risking his legacy, everything for $15 million. Telling you that fight is not like one of those weird, Chuck Norris versus Jean-Claude Van Damme fights. You know what I'm saying? Like that things that aren't never going to happen. I'm telling you, there's a possibility that this is going to happen. For Conor McGregor, it makes the most sense business-wise. He has nothing to lose. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's say they agree on $100 million each. You have WME, you have the UFC promotion, who are the best in the world, versus the best boxing promotion in the world in TME, the Money Mayweather team. And you cross-pollinate, you get all these new eyeballs. It's a huge pay-per-view. Huge. Because even if you're not a Conor McGregor fan, you're going to tune in because he represents boxing, your sport, mixed martial arts.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So everyone's always said, you have the old boxing heads go, mixed martial arts is bullshit. I don't want to watch that. But they're going to watch. They're like, I'll tell you what, I don't like Floyd Mayweather, but I'm going to watch him beat up on this MMA guy. Mm-hmm. So you have those haters on Floyd, but now they're not haters. They're boxing lovers. So those guys tune in. Then you have the MMA. There may be haters in Conor, but Conor represents MMA. They tune in. So you cross-pollinate and you get this fucking tidal wave. Kadoosh! Biggest pay-per-view of all time. And Conor's so much bigger, it's... I swear to God, and I will show the ticket when I do it. I will put money on Conor during this fight. It's crazy. I know people are like, God, you're such a Conor dick rider. I get it. However, Conor's weight is so big, and he is exceptionally fast for how big he is. Mm. And Floyd has fought a lot of guys. Remember, Floyd is a lot older. Conor's in his prime, and he moves in a very particular way, MMA way. Conor does not move like a boxer. He switches stances. I think he's going to come from angles that Floyd's not familiar with. And by the time he figures it out, it will cost him a lot. Meaning he will get punched in the face, and Conor hits very, very hard. Yeah. And he's going to be a huge underdog, so I would put money on the dog. I'm not saying Conor destroys Floyd Mayweather. That's crazy. I'm saying he has a huge puncher's chance, and his skill set, his footwork, his angles, his unorthodox style would create some sort of problems for Floyd Mayweather early in the rounds, which is worth betting on.
Mm-hmm. Who do you think would have? Oh, obviously, Floyd Mayweather would have the betting odds with him, right?
Yeah, I bet Floyd Mayweather would be a minus 1,200.
So betting on Conor would be awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Floyd's not knocking Conor out.
Yeah,
it either goes to a decision or I'm telling you, it's a win-win for Conor. If it goes to decision, it's like, okay, Conor's went fucking 12 rounds with supposedly the pound-for-pound best of all time. And then in some weird world, the fighting gods let Conor McGregor land that left hand from fucking outer space, and it lands on Floyd Mayweather's chin, knocks him out. Mm-hmm. Then you happen to have the biggest combat sports star of all time. And what's that worth to you? Not $15 million.
It kind of makes the fight not seem as amazing when if he did accept the $15 million offer.
No, $15 million. No.
If it said $100
he's getting
million,
damn near that in the UFC. $100 million, then we got legit. We got
it looks like a rad.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit.
Hard, yeah.
But when I heard Floyd say that on, I watch First Take every morning. Mm-hmm. Every morning, I'm a huge Max Kellerman fan. I like Stephen A. Smith. I like him on Sirius, but I'm a huge Max Kellerman fan, and especially Molly. I've known Molly forever. Shout out to Molly Curum. And when I heard Floyd go, the only fight that I'm interested in is Conor McGregor. I thought, there we go. Yeah. There we go. I like it, man.
Well, on this same note, Conor actually replied to Floyd Mayweather by posting.
I didn't get this. I saw his Instagram. Yeah. He posted this, and what is it, Chin?
I guess this is his Twitter that he did this, but he has this app that I'm sure he's also promoting his app.
Will the fans be able to see this on our video?
Yeah, we'll show this real quick, a little image of it. But he tweeted out obviously to Floyd Mayweather, but he didn't put his name there. He goes, "Call me CJ Watson. And then I figured out, my friends had to tell me, but CJ Watson is the guy that's connected to Floyd Mayweather's first wife, I think she was, who he ended up abusing. And apparently it was through this guy cheating with her, and that's why he ended up hitting his wife. So Conor knew this information and posted this.
Good God.
Yeah.
Conor is ruthless. Well, now, sir, you've crossed the line. Now you've made it so personal.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna get this fight in the hype that it needs, you go personal, because I would imagine Floyd responds to this. This a hit you where it hurts. This is a tender spot.
Yes.
This is like someone tickling in those old ribby ribs. This is gonna you got to react to this. So I had no idea when I saw "Call Me CJ Watson." I was like,
Yeah, I didn't.
Is there a CJ Watson did MMA and went to boxing? I don't. So complicated, but.
Oh, he's a basketball player too.
Basketball player who obviously hooked up with Floyd's girl, and then Floyd continued his undefeated streak and went on to hit his girl at the time. It's so terrible. And that's why he is a dark, dark individual. And that's also why every single person listening to this should want Conor McGregor to win.
Mm-hmm.
That's hilarious. Call me CJ Watson. That's so personal. That's so personal. I mean, at least call me at CJ Watson, so CJ Watson gets some love here. Mm-hmm. Is this CJ Watson character a good-looking fella? Can you bring him up? What are you talking about here? Is he still in the NBA?
No,
I don't think so.
I think he is.
My brother was.
This is so bad because
my brother's
I don't
balls
follow
deep in CJ Watson in NBA. I mean,
see, it's funny when I type his name in. There's no pictures of him really. It's just all about Conor and Mayweather. But
there he is. He's 32, so he's in Vegas. Current team, all right, he's making $5 million a year. He's a baller.
And there's his picture.
Okay, I mean, maybe he gets a giant hoggy. I don't know. I mean, he's not modeling for Calvin Klein any soon. I'll tell you that. Well, all right. Maybe have you ever seen Floyd in person?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
I was at a club in Vegas one time, and forget which club it was. This is years ago. I'm at a club. To get me to go to a club now, good luck with that. It's just, I'm a grown-ass man. I can't be in the club popping bottles and shit. I'm a dad. Anyways, I'm at a club in Vegas, and there's these fucking literally mountain gorillas, hashtag no racist, mountain gorillas in tuxedos, like suits. And I'm like...
Oh, just enormous bodyguard
like,
dudes.
I'm trying to think of the movie. You know, in Roger Rabbit, the giant gorillas in suit. I think it's Roger Rabbit. You know what? It might be Cool World. Shout out to Brad Pitt and Cool World. If you guys haven't seen Cool World, it was before Roger Rabbit. Brad Pitt, and he's in a cartoon with this dime piece of a girl.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's so old school. It's weird how my brain works. Anyways, but there's a big gorilla in a tuxedo, like for security, at the front door. It's Roger Rabbit, because he whoops the guy's ass because he tries to get to Jessica Rabbit. So it's Roger Rabbit, not Cool World. We're getting weird on the big brown cubed here. So I see these guys. I'm like, what the? Like, it's a distraction. It's like, well, all right.
Yeah.
Is fucking Big and Tall having like a convention? They're so big. And then I see this little dude. Probably, how tall are you?
5'6.5".
He's probably your size, maybe a little shorter.
Wow.
Probably just as thin. Like, you guys are very, very, very similar. And I couldn't believe how small he was. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, you're damn right you travel around with these fucking ginormous men. It makes sense. Because he's so tiny. I couldn't believe it. So tiny. Obviously, so skilled. But I just couldn't believe how small he is. I don't know where I went on this tangent. However, if you guys listen to Big Brown Breakdowns, you know I go on these weird tangents. All I'm saying is his girl. I'd have to see his girl. But I'm assuming his girl, Floyd's a little dude. She wanted the big man. She found a big man. Because I'm a point guard in the NBA. People think that point guards are small because compared to other guys. And she is a smoke show spectacular. So she just wanted a big alpha male. Yeah, look at her. Jesus Christ. But of course. I mean, he gets the hottest girls. Yeah, she's I I wouldn't kick her out of bed for eating crackers. I'll tell you that much. You can eat graham crackers in my bed, girl. So, maybe she's just sick of the small guy. Went for the bigger gentleman. And now his old ex, I forget her name, Miss Jackson, is with Nelly now. And Miss Jackson was a dime piece too.
That's her right here, right?
That's Miss Jackson.
Samir?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is her, Chin.
Or is it this one? I don't even know.
That's Miss Chantel Jackson.
Yeah, she's.
Damn,
she's
said
very
forced
pretty.
to downsize. They were engaged. I don't know. Every girl he's with has their own business. They're fucking hustle. They have a side gig. They're hustling shoes or jewelry or purses or and then he'll post. I don't follow him on Instagram. I had to stop following him. He'll post make sure you check out my girl Chantel's new airing line. It's God damn it. All right, let's move on from Floyd Mayweather.
All right. The next one is Robbie Lawler. He's leaving, or he left American Top Team.
And he didn't state why, right?
And he didn't say where he's going next or anything, yeah. Maybe you would have a...
Yeah, I mean, you're talking, I've left camps before. This is tough. Robbie Lawler is, he's on the back nine of his career. There's no argument there. Maybe things at American Top Team, maybe it got a little too comfortable for him. Maybe they just weren't investing the time that he properly needed. And, Robbie's been around for a long, long time. He's a vet.
Yeah.
So if there's anyone who knows, the right moves to make, it'd be this guy. This is a guy who took, I want to say 6 years off from sparring because he knew it wasn't healthy for him. And he knew in the fights, he was getting knocked out. So he made an educated decision to take time off from sparring. So, it's a little alarming, but he only lost one fight and it was a KO punch to Woodley. Woodley lands that freaking punch on anyone, they're going to sleep. So I don't think it's a matter of people always chalk it up to his chin's gone. Well, no, Woodley hits like a Mack truck and landed flush on him. So maybe Robbie Lawler's been there for a while. He just needs some fresh air, a change of pace. I'm not mad at, but he is on the back nine. And then I'll tell you this much. I won't give my source away, but I got a super close inside source, and his name isn't Joe Rogan either, so I know you guys jumped to assumption. It's not Rogan. The reason why Nick Diaz turned down the fight with Robbie Lawler, this is true, they offered him the fight, is because to him it's not a challenge. He's already been there. He's I've already done that. I've knocked him out. That's not fun for me. I can't get up for that. So he wants a title shot or a huge name.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's it's that or nothing. I'm not to him. That's in the past. He wants to move forward with his career and with his fights, and he's he also don't have a ton of them left, and he wants to make sure it's the right fight. He's I've already been there. I knocked him out. Why would we do that again? For what? And let's say in some weird world, Robbie beats him. All right, then we fight for a trilogy. That's how this ends. I fight in a trilogy. So you can kind of see how he's why?
Yeah.
So to Nick Diaz's point, he turned it down because he that's kind of looking back in the past. He wants to move forward, and he wants the biggest fight possible. He wants to fight for a title.
It's such a fun fight for the fans, though. Damn.
I get it before.
But it totally makes sense.
It's he's been out for a while, and they ask you to fight a guy you've already beat, knocked out. Granted, it was years ago.
He was a champion too.
Yeah,
afterwards.
it's kind of you can kind of see it. Don't get me wrong, I would die to see that fight. It'd be I wouldn't die. It's so aggressive. I apologize to you guys, but I would love to see that fight. But it's not. You can kind of see how Nick's I've been there, man. Yeah. What else you got? Let's do a new challenge. I've already knocked him out. So there you go for that one. What else you got, Chin? For Robbie, I wish him the best. I think he's a guy who, he's a pioneer of the sport, and he didn't say where he's going. Yeah, so
nope.
He's always fun to watch. Hopefully, it's a good move for him.
When you left camps, was it because they weren't giving you as much attention as you wanted, or was it for?
It's a good question. I think it was a sum of things. I think I was coming off 2 losses. I just needed a change. I was sick of the environment. I felt like I wasn't growing. I wasn't getting better. Shane Carwin was my main training partner. He got hurt and he wasn't training a lot, so I didn't have a lot of big bodies. I would come in and, it's now no knock on my coach at the time, my striking coach, but I could write down exactly what we're going to do. And I just felt like he had other passions as far as he was trying to do this other side business and start this clothing line and these gloves. I'm like, well, dude, this next fight, if I don't win, who's LeVar Johnson, I'm going to get cut, man. Like, we got to figure it out. I just didn't feel like there's a sense of urgency. So I took matters in my own hands, and I didn't tell anyone. I just told them, I'm just going to go to California. I'll be back in 2 weeks. And I knew damn well I'd never come back. I just packed everything up and left.
Wow.
Best move I've ever made.
And you beat LeVar.
Professionally. I beat LeVar, took him down over and over and over. Not the funnest fight. He was on steroids. Test positive. Yep, test positive.
Dear God, did he look like he was on steroids?
He was so jacked. He was so jacked. Nice guy, though. Granted, I think he's in prison now.
Yes.
So, LeVar, if you're watching this, hopefully no one in prison can grapple. Hopefully they're just stand-up guys, and you won't get raped. But if it's stand-up, you got this, son.
Oh my God.
It's gonna be like that movie Undisputed where they're in prison. That was sick. I think it was Undisputed. Wesley Snipes, Ving Rhames, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think it was Undisputed too.
I think so.
And there was another one.
Wesley
with the older
Snipes,
guy.
he's like he's a world champ, and the guy's the prison champ. Then they fight. Wesley gets out. Oh no, Ving Rhames gets out and then becomes champ again.
I remember LeVar. What just sticks in my mind is when he threw punches. It didn't look like he did anything, but he was like swinging his torso, his body like
Dude,
this.
He was
It looked scary.
so strong. And then in the fight, I kept taking him down over and over and over. He's talking shit. He's going, come on, dog. Let me get up. Quit being a pussy and grappling. Why don't you get up? Why don't we bang? And I really don't talk shit in a fight. I went, why don't you learn how to, or what I said, why don't you learn some jiu-jitsu and get the fuck up? And then dead silence is all. Well, he has a point here.
How much?
Super nice guy to me.
How much of a difference? I'm sure you fought guys that are super buff and strong, but you were assuming they're not on steroids, but then knowing he's on steroids,
Yeah.
how much of a difference did that make? Someone his size, but not on steroids.
My issue with him is he was such a hard hitter and he was on such a hot streak. Remember, he was knocking out Pat Barry,
Yes,
just murking people and just hit so fucking hard.
Scary.
But he had this huge hole in his game in grappling. And I was working so much on my wrestling and grappling, so I thought he was the perfect fight for that reason. And he thought I was going to stand and trade with him because I was coming off 2 knockout losses, which for sure figured out. Why would I do that? Sure,
But you knock out people too. That's probably why.
I know, but that's like literally the only way he can win.
Yeah.
And I have other tools in my bag. Why would I just play your game? Joe Silva was so mad at me at that fight because remember, it's right when they signed the Fox deal, and I was the main event on the Fox card, and then it went to the pay-per-view. So they're hoping that main event sells pay-per-views. That thing ain't selling pay-per-views.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I mean, my career was on the line. Yeah. He was so mad.
But he's super strong, right? When they're on roids.
They're super strong at first, and then it kind of tailors off. And I'm not saying Crow Cop was on steroids. Crow Cop was a different kind of. Crow Cop is like, when I grabbed him, I was like, are you made out of pure oak wood? Like, what's going on? He was so strong. So strong. I remember LeVar, similar like a football player. Like, it's strong, but it's different. It's not like it's not very functional strong when it comes to fighting. If that right hand lands, your head's going to the top deck.
Yeah.
But that's a big if. What else you got, brother?
Alrighty. So we were talking about Nick Diaz. Apparently, the Nevada State Athletic Commission is going to move towards taking the ban off of weed entirely. So, I mean, this is just rumors, but since Nevada passed the law where you can, weed is legal now in January 1st of this year, people are saying that the NAC is actually going to try to lift the ban off of any kind of like weed thing in your system.
That's cool. It makes sense too, because it's really, I know some people like it decreases your pain threshold. Like you can, it increases your pain threshold. Sorry. Like when you're high, like you can absorb more pain things. I don't see weed being a PED, a performance enhancer. If anything, I see it relaxing the guys, recovery. There have been a lot of research done that it does help with concussions and stuff like that. To what extent is all that true? I'm not sure. I think the verdict's still out, but no one's ever OD'd on weed. I don't think it's a huge advantage in the octagon, if any at all. So it's a step in the right direction, man. Way to go, Nevada.
And the picture of Nick Diaz is the best part.
It has to be Nick Diaz, right? I mean, of course. He's the poster boy for weed in the UFC.
And he's the one that had the craziest ban, too.
What'd they give him, 5 years?
5 years, yeah. For just metabolites in his system.
That fucking Nevada commission, man. God, dog. If we could just lock them in a cage with, like, even a mediocre fighter, just all of them. If there's 8, it'd just be fun to watch. They're the biggest pieces of shit out. Well, I wouldn't say the biggest, but they're up there.
Yeah, especially
huge egos.
With Pat Lundvall, but
it's crazy.
She's gone now.
It's crazy, man. Yeah. What world do they live in?
Indeed.
What else you got, bud?
Let's see. Chris Cyborg, this is from Brett Okamoto, his Twitter. She retained that attorney that represented Lesnar and Jones to get a retroactive TUE for that substance that she was using, that diuretic.
I mean, it's almost too late.
That's what I'm wondering. So retroactive, How often does that happen? Do they go back and say, yeah, all right, we'll give it to you?
Yeah, they go back into when they test you. I mean, hey, you retained the John Jones rep, the Lesnar and Tim Means. Mm-hmm. Jones, Means basically got off, with a slap on the wrist. Lesnar, $250,000 fine, 1 year suspension. So in the very worst case, Cyborg's going to get a year using this Howard Jacobs. Mm-hmm. So it's a smart move by Cyborg. She should pay this lady whatever she needs to make this happen, because this lady will make sure that she stays relevant. Because if Cyborg is suspended for 3 years, game over. Game over. Who knows if the women's division's even there in 3 years?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
That's aggressive. I'm aggressive today, man. I'm really exaggerating today, but there's not a lot of stars, what I'm saying. And at that weight class, when she comes, who knows? They could really use her. They made the weight class for her, and she's gone for 3 years. I don't know what they do with it. It's gonna be like Tim Sylvia, Andrei Arlovsky in heavyweights in 2004 when they're fighting every other weekend. It gets lame, especially this day and age. It's hard to market.
Do you think that would have been, how everything right now, the Ronda thing happening and then the Cyborg thing happening, do you think back then, if they did make that fight, that would have been the biggest in UFC history?
Cyborg Ronda?
Yeah.
When Ronda was undefeated?
Yep.
Yes.
Like, do you think
biggest fight in UFC history?
Yeah. Like,
no.
Considering today too, yeah.
No, I think Conor would still dominate those. Mm-hmm. I just don't think those two women would bring those type of numbers. I think it'd be good, but remember too, back then Cyborg really didn't have a huge following.
True, she wasn't huge in the UFC following. Or anything. So.
A lot of people forget too. I'm one of them. I'm guilty of it. Where we say Ronda was the pioneer. There'd be no, Ronda, and I have said that in the UFC, and she did talk Dana White into getting women in the UFC and what she did. Hats off to her, but we forget how big of a deal Gina Carano was. I mean, she is by far the best looking female fighter of all time. I mean, not even close. Her or Misha are 1 and 2, but Gina Carano is a dime piece in every way possible. And nice, good person, was a striker. I think Scott Coker, he either tweeted or texted me this. When Gina Carano fought on, I think it was Strike Force or Elite XC. I think it was Strike Force, Scott Coker days. On Strike Force, they'd have it on TV. Mm-hmm. It spiked at, a crazy amount of views. Like, she was pulling in big numbers. And that's back then.
Yeah.
So compared to Gina, and they had nowhere near the marketing, the hype machines that they do have now, and the money. Imagine Gina now with her looks and that skill set. That's a knockout artist like her.
Wow. So if there's any time for her to come back.
To come back and fight for that 145 title. Yeah. It's not a bad idea. She was in Deadpool. She's doing movies and stuff now. Her thing is, we remember, even though, Cyborg did beat her and she retired after that fight.
Yeah. We
don't remember for that. Her case in Cyborg and Gina Carano's case in Ronda's is different. Ronda, it depends how you view it. But a lot of people, you don't want to see her story end like this because this is how we remember it. Because you're really not saying, remember that time she beat Katzengang in 17 seconds? You're like, remember, Ronda was kind of, and then she got fucking murked and then got knocked the fuck out in 40, like, that's a bummer, man. But Gina, we don't view that way. So for her to come back and risk this movie career that she has right now, and she hasn't fought in forever, man. That's a fucking real task to handle. And let's say she comes back and fights Holly Holm and loses, it hurts her movie career. And so it's very temporary, unless they're going to pay her a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
And then also, the current fan base doesn't associate with Gina Carano. So you'd have to retell her story, pull that scab back. Like, here she is, like, unleash that Band-Aid. Like, here she is. You people who just got on board, this was the original, so you'd have some work to do.
And now that she's kind of established in the movie world, even if she didn't do well in MMA, she could still go back to the movie world, right?
You can't. And you guys are going to see with Ronda, like, there's no bigger cutthroat industry in the world than entertainment. So they weren't giving Ronda movie roles because she was an amazing actress. No. That's not happening. Mike Tyson wasn't in The Hangover because he's such a talented actor. They're doing it because of what you represent, what you stand for, and people go, oh shit, that's Mike Tyson, that badass. Well, when Ronda, they gave her, I think, a lead in a movie that's no longer happening. They gave her a lead.
Roadhouse.
Because of what she represented. She doesn't represent that anymore. That's not that mystique and that persona. That is so gone. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
So Hollywood clears up like that, man. Clears up. It's more cutthroat than professional sports, I'd say, because Ronda could come back in 6 months and fight, wins. Here's a little different case. You know what I'm saying? So if you lose a fight, you can fight 6 months later and totally redeem yourself. And you're right back, and people are like, all right, that's who we know. In Hollywood, it's tough. Different animal, man. Especially if it's not your forte. All right, what else you got?
All right, next one is something we already sort of knew, that Tony Ferguson and Khabib are, well, not confirmed, but they went on their Twitter to pretty much confirm that they're fighting. Yeah,
it's happening. I heard Tony and the UFC settled at a happy medium. Tony didn't get exactly what he wanted. The UFC didn't get exactly what they wanted, but they settled at a happy medium, so good for him. UFC 209, the first live Big Brown Breakdown will be before. Yeah. It will be the same week as this huge UFC 209. And we calculated that to a T, so I'm glad this card's getting big. So, and I'll have more information, like I said, on that next week when the tickets go on sale. Tony Ferguson versus Khabib. This is the fight. This is the exact fight we want to see. And the UFC 209 right now is, let me just see if my memory serves me right here before CT kicks in. You have Mark Hunt, Alistair Overeem, Woodley, Wonderboy 2, Khabib, Tony Ferguson.
Yeah. It's not, confirmed, but everyone's saying it is. They are saying it is too.
And then you also got my boy Todd Duffy fighting Mark Godbear. Might be the best name of all time. Godbear. And then Ed Herman, good old school training partner of mine, Ed Herman. But just look at those top three. That's a beast of a card. I don't think those those last three they're showing on there with Igor, Todd, and Darren will make the main card. But just right now with Alistair Overeem, Mark Hunt, Tony Ferguson, Khabib, and Woodley Thompson, you got a fucking banger. And it's about time. How dare you give us that fucking Brooklyn card? How dare you? That is a slap in every fan's face. But the one issue I have with this card is I need Tony versus Khabib Nurmagomedov 5 rounds. Has to be 5 rounds. Don't give me 3. That's not enough time. I need 5 rounds. If you make it an interim title fight, I don't care. Everyone gets belts these days. He's like Oprah. You get a belt. You get a belt. You get a belt. That's fine. Has to be 5 rounds. Tony Ferguson versus Khabib has to be 5 rounds. 3 rounds is the injustice of that caliber of fight.
Have they done that before? A co-main, or if it's even going to be co-main, it has to be co-main, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't make it the main event over a championship fight. There's never been a non-championship fight as the co-main.
But I mean, have they had 2 5-round?
Yes.
On a card.
Yep.
So this should be the one then, huh?
This should be the one.
Do it again.
If they're going to do it. They haven't, they haven't even officially announced the card. But remember, Conor has so much time off, and they have nothing scheduled for him. Mm-hmm. We can get into that, but what they're trying to do. But there's nothing scheduled there. There's nothing scheduled with all these stars. So to make this an interim title, 5 rounds makes sense. Then you can build that up versus Conor if he does decide not to do the Floyd Mayweather thing. Makes sense. That card's a banger.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
You want another one?
Sure.
This is not really, there's not much to it, but other than it's the UFC canceled their March 3rd event, which is the one that was a day before 209, I believe.
So they were going to do a March 4th, and then the March 3rd was going to be like a Fight Pass.
Yeah, like a Fight Pass card.
Yeah, those never work, man. No one, I mean, unless you're a hardcore fan, you watch them, but it's kind of, and with the new brass, maybe they're going for more quality over quantity, which is, I think, is the play here. I really do. I think they have way too many cards. I think if they went back to their old model that got them to sell for $4 billion, it was more of quality over quantity. People knew the fighters. Now it's tough, man. Some would say it's my fucking job, and it's tough to keep up with all of them. It's very tough, man. Yeah. So if I can't, it's going to be tough to create stars, and that's what they need. The only way you can do that is by really focusing on a lot of things. It's like the kid you meet who wants to be, an actor. He wants to play basketball. He wants to be an attorney. He wants to pick, he wants to be a race car driver. I mean, you can be average at all of them, or fucking pick one and be great, man. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing with the UFC. I mean, you can do all these mediocre cards, and you can give us UFC in Brooklyn, and you can do all that shit, and you make some money. You have your sponsors, stuff like that. But for long-term growth and for ratings, you need stars. And that's what they're trying to figure out. Is that it?
There's one more if you want to check this out. I don't know. This is like a gossipy thing, but
what do you got?
BJ Penn's brother was allegedly, or was confirmed, I'm sure, arrested on an airplane on the way to see BJ's fight in an airplane.
This is his brother that used to be the coach?
Reagan. This is his little brother.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Younger brother and himself a mixed martial artist was on a Delta aircraft, Los Angeles to fly to Phoenix. Heavy on the airplane staff on request more alcohol before it took off. Well, it's never good. Things escalated, police allergy. Wow. Penn yelled that he wouldn't get off the plane without a fight. The officers said, that's cool. Took him down and arrested him. He was later released. I mean, Reagan Penn was heard saying that BJ would kick his ass if he didn't make it to Phoenix. The cops are like, I don't give a fuck. I don't know.
How do you release nowadays on an airplane if this happens? I can't imagine them releasing.
Well, I mean, this day and age on planes, if anyone starts freaking out, we've seen how it works out when you don't do anything. Hashtag September 11th. So whenever there's a commotion, I mean, everyone's an air marshal on that bitch. I'm going to get up and sock you in the face if I think you're doing shady stuff. I think most people will. So it's just not the way to go.
I'm surprised he's out of jail.
He suffered a cut on his face. Damn. Oh, after a night of drinking.
Well, that was
that's a different. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know. Obviously his brother has maybe it was a vacation thing. He was happy to leave LA and get to Phoenix and see his brother compete again. So he's celebrating, have a couple drinks, or he's a raging alcoholic and he has to have drinks before the flight takes off. Denzel Washington freaking flight style. I'm not sure, but his brother's fighting. There's high emotions.
Yeah. So that's another question. If BJ's going to wake up and see this news, is he going to be like, oh, crap?
No, it won't affect a guy like BJ. You're like, God damn it. It's kind of, you're like, what are you going to do? Because he's not in prison. There's no charges. He's out. It looks like he will make the fight. But when I lost to Roy Nelson, the cops had to apprehend my brother because when I was fighting in the Palms in Las Vegas. I lost to Roy Nelson in the finale, obviously. And I'm walking back to the cage, so disappointed. I'm walking back to the locker room, sorry. So disappointed. I'm walking past the crowd, and some guys just talking, some keyboard Cheeto finger warrior came out of his mom's basement, got a ticket, and just started talking shit. And my brother jumped into the stands and attacked this guy.
Oh,
yeah, the cops were all over him.
So what happened to your brother?
Nothing. The cops were like, "We get it, man." And like my brother didn't,
Awesome.
didn't go full Forrest Gump. Remember when Forrest got his girl trying to suck that dude's dick in the car in the rain, and Forrest just went nuts on him, just gave him the old beat down with the straight fucking ground and
Why
pound.
am I not remembering this?
You don't remember that?
No, I remember she was on stage.
And she's all, "Forrest, stop! Forrest, stop!" He's all, "I love you." You don't remember that? And then they go into her dorm room, and she puts his hand on his breast, and he's like, "Oh God, oh God." It's like too much for him. He like freaks out.
God, it's so long ago.
I haven't seen that movie in 6 years.
You have a good memory, man.
I know. It's weird. I remember weird shit like that.
Roger Rabbit.
Roger Rabbit I haven't seen in 10 years probably. But yeah, Forrest Gump. My brother went Forrest Gump on some dude in the crowd.
That's an awesome brother, man.
Yeah. Scaled the bleachers and got to the guy. Guy was not expecting that. Probably went back. Probably never came out of his mom's basement again. It's probably on the forums now on Reddit and fucking the UG just talking shit still.
Or just apologizing.
Who knows? Maybe he has a broken eye orbital and his eyes like biswings now. And he's just like, can't forget about the Shabs. That'd be sick. Just kidding. I hope that guy's doing well.
Oh, goodness.
All right. Well, is that it, brother?
Yeah, I think we went over a bunch.
We sure did. There's not much to break down this weekend. Should we break down the main ones and then get to fan questions?
Sounds good.
Let's just start with, Moraga, Little Pettis. That's a fun fight. It's a really fun fight. Number 8 versus number 15.
Moraga.
Moraga after. I'm trying to think. I think I was at that fight. I think I was at that fight when he fought Demetrius Johnson for the championship. And then, he's had kind of a tough go when he fights the toughest guys in the world. When you look at, he lost to Dotson, he lost to Demetrius Johnson, but he's getting dealt with when he fights the top of the top. Joey Benavidez, although he went to decision, but Joey really outclassed him. So, and then Little Pettis, he's never knocked my hair back. You look at the guys that he's beat. He's under his brother's shadow, and I get that. But this would be a big one for him. Big Fox card. He's on the main card, so this is kind of his breakout fight. And he's coming off 2 wins. This is a fun fight. That's all I'm going to say about this one. Flyweights. What do you want me to do? I'm a sizist. And then Court McGee versus Ben Saunders. Ben hasn't fought in a little bit. Neither has Court, right? Talking
Ben's
about two old vets here. And of course, Ben Saunders with the crazy ass Plata submission in 2014. That was a fun one.
So this is his return to the. No, wait, it's not, is it? It is his return to the UFC.
No,
it looks like he was the Patrick Cote fight. He lost. Then apparently he fought at another organization. Or is this Fight Night? Okay, never mind.
No, yeah, no,
I thought Volkman was gone a long time ago.
No, he, Jacob Volkman, right?
Yeah.
No. Fight Night at the Island?
It's got to be, right? That has to be a different organization. It just sounds like UFC Fight Night at the Island.
Yeah, there's no Fight Night at the Island.
Yeah, and I think Volkman was gone a long time ago.
Hold up. It said Fight Night in the Island. It's in Minnesota. Oh, it's in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So they released him, and then now he's back.
I think this. Yeah.
Hold up. So he won 3 in a row. He won by, I don't know, brother. So he won Plata. Mm-hmm. He won TKO. He won a split decision over Kenny Robertson, and then he loses to Patrick Cote in a fun fight, entertaining fight. Then they cut him. I doubt that.
I think that he got cut because of personal stuff. Like maybe he didn't want to take a fight, and Joe Silva was not happy about it.
Really?
I kind of I'm starting to remember this a little bit.
I mean, I'm sure the fans let us know. You might be right. So they let him go. Then he wins again by submission by armbar, and then they bring him back against Court McGee. Mm-hmm. Go to Court McGee for me. Remember, Court had that long ass layoff. So he took a year off when he lost to Ryan LaFleur, a unanimous decision. Then he came back a year later, right at a year later almost, and then beat a decision, and then takes another long time off, loses to a gentleman, and then April.
Oh, he did have a long layoff, 2 years.
Yeah, man, 2-year layoff. Then his last fight, unanimous decision. I love both of these guys. You guys know me when I make these picks. I'm always a little biased. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but it's kind of part of the gig. So, some guys get upset. Like Masvidal got upset that I said Cowboy's going to beat him. I mean, I have a personal relationship with Cowboy. Of course I'm going to say that. Masvidal's one of my favorite fighters to watch. You're fighting Cowboy in Denver, my hometown. Me and Cowboy train together. Of course I'm a big Cowboy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Say that
I don't know you.
Too.
Yeah, I mean, you're a great fighter and one of my favorite fighters to watch, but of course I'm a big Cowboy. I have a personal relationship with him. In this fight, listen, I love both these guys. I just think Ben Saunders is more dangerous. He's tough to train with because he is such a big-ass dude and long and awkward, and his jiu-jitsu and training at 10th Planet has come a long ways. Listen, at the highest level, he omoplata a guy. So that has to take a little bit of brownie points. Man. Yeah, it's tough to do.
I don't think he'd ever.
I'll take Ben Saunders by a finish in this one. By knee and elbow or submission, I think Ben Saunders gets it done. I think Court, he's not fighting a lot. When he wins, it's by decision. When he loses, by TKO. He has so many decisions. I don't see him decisioning Ben Saunders.
That's the one fighter I'm always like, when Court McGee fights, I think he's an awesome guy, but it's just I don't think it's
gonna blow your hair back.
Yeah,
no, it's not. It's just fight. And that's the same thing. That's the same way I feel about Safadine.
Yep,
he's so calculated. He's such a high level fighter. When I see him on the card, I'm like, all right. Well, all right. Let's go to the next one.
Lausanne, Marcin Held.
This is a fun fight. Joe, I'd like to see move on. He's taking a lot of damage. He's a pioneer. He's a madman. He's so fun to watch. He did beat Diego Sanchez. Then he lost to Jim Miller, and then he lost to end of Dunham. The Gomi fight, the Alaquinta fight was so tough to watch. He has so many fight of the nights and bonuses, so he's probably going into the Hall of Fame, even though he has a little bit of a salty record. But he's just such a freaking warrior. I'll always watch Joe Lauzon fight. So when you see Joe, it's a different reaction, right, than when you see a Court McGee or a Safadine, because it's going to be a fun fight.
He's always going.
You just know it's going to be a great fight. He cautions out the window. God, again, he's one of my favorite guys.
Another really likable guy, just right off the bat. So likable,
smart. Hopefully he still keeps those brains when he's done. Let me see Held. So I would love to see this go to the ground. That's really what I want to see. If you remember Held's last fight when he fought Diego Sanchez, everyone, Diego, he doesn't get enough credit for his jiu-jitsu. He really doesn't. And he just kind of outclassed Held. So and that's Held's thing. That's really his only thing is jiu-jitsu. Lauzon, his defense where he puts his hands up, guys have to figure out and they can tee off on him. So I hope he doesn't continue to do that. I hope this fight goes to the ground. So we see just a phenomenal grappling match. Mm-hmm. That's what I hope for in this fight. I think Lauzon just gets it done. I think Held has a lot of muscle, especially at this weight class. So I think he does kind of tend to. Cardio would be a bit of an issue for me here. When he wins, it's either by submission or decision, unless he can pull off one of those crazy leg locks on sick. Lauzon. I don't see it happening. I think Lauzon beats him in a decision.
I hope so too. I mean, sounds messed up, but I do hope he wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not doing Held any favors. welcome to the UFC. We're going to go ahead and give you Diego Sanchez, a Hall of Famer, and here comes another Hall of Famer in Lozon. They're trying to help you out, make a name for yourself because you're fighting Hall of Famers, but it's not an easy road. And you can tell he's a guy who came from Bellator, so.
Two really mentally tough guys, too.
Yeah, you're going to have your hands full. Yeah. You better bring your lunch pail because those guys, they're making a fight every single time. They never don't show up, which is scary for Lozon because he's a smart guy and he takes punishment. And for whatever reason, it looks almost like he likes it. All right, what else you got?
I think that's the last one.
BJ Penn, Yair Rodriguez. Oh, boy. We see these a lot of the time. You know, when you get a young guy in Yair Rodriguez who, you know, he won the Ultimate Fighter Latin America. He was the winner off there. I think he was on Kane's team. He's fun to watch, and you see he's very young and raw. You know, he's been undefeated in the UFC. Like I said, he's fun to watch. And they're building him up the right way. I think this is a good fight for him as far as in his career because he's fighting BJ Penn, but you're not fighting BJ Penn, BJ motherfucking Penn. You're not fighting that BJ. You're fighting an older BJ who's trying to come back, test the waters. But the prodigy, if you fought BJ, the BJ that fought Diego Sanchez, Kenny Florian, Frankie Edgar, he would eat Yair Rodriguez up like a fucking tuna bowl in Hawaii. He would eat his ass up like a pair of mahi tacos. I mean, it wouldn't even be a fight. But you have this young fucking lion versus, a BJ that we don't know what to expect. Because if you look at Yair Rodriguez fights, they're doing it right. They're grooming him right because he's not fighting the top of the top food chain, which usually they just throw you in there. It's like, Jesus Christ. He's fighting tough guys. You know, a split decision here, unanimous decision here, split decision, unanimous. His only finish is by a head kick KO. And let me go to BJ's because, you know, BJ hasn't won a fight in quite some time.
His record's ridiculous, too.
You know, so, you know, lost to Frankie Edgar, TKO punches, lost to Roy McDonald in a unanimous decision, lost to Nick Diaz. I mean, that's forever ago, man. And he lost, you know, his last time he fought was 2014. And at his age, this is such a huge X factor because we don't know what version of BJ we're seeing. I know BJ kind of spreaded his camp around, so he's with Perillo. He was in Hawaii. He was at Jackson. So you're going to see all three of those guys in his corner, which is kind of unheard of. But I think BJ is one of those guys. He doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. He just wants the good vibe in the locker room. So he brings all those guys.
That's the Sure Dog website.
Oh, word. So I don't know what BJ we're going to get. Listen, in all my years of being in this game, one thing you do is you don't bet against BJ. But, you know, he's fighting a young, hungry lion, and also we don't know what kind of character Rodriguez has because we really haven't seen him fight a legend. It's a different game because Yair grew up with BJ being this immortal god. Same thing for me when you fight Crow Cop. So I remember being in the cage being like, this is a fucking video game. This is a movie. That's Mirko Crow Cop. And I have to punch him in the face. It's a weird vibe. And Yair's way younger than I was when I fought one of my heroes. So who knows how Yair's going to respond to that. Obviously, I would assume Yair in Vegas odds is the favorite. Is that right?
I have the odds right here. Yeah, he is, minus 470.
Huge favorite. So, huge favorite. It makes sense. You know, BJ's just older. Why he's still doing it, I don't know. I have no idea. He can do it as long as he wants, though. He deserves that right. It's his call. I wish he would stop. BJ, top 3 nicest guys of all time, especially to be that famous. I mean, I'm such a huge fan of BJ's, and I support anything he does. And I'll never pick against BJ. You know, I'll take shit for you. You're so biased, Sean. You have your favorites. You're fucking right, and at least I'm honest about it. I got BJ Penn in this fight by submission.
Wow.
Now, so my heart says BJ by submission. My brain says Yair by whatever he wants.
Oh shit!
I mean, it's tough. It's a shell version of BJ, but pressure's on BJ in this fight for sure. I mean, you look at this card for Fox, what they used to be. You know, granted it's a fight night, but it is Fox. Again, quantity over quality. It's none of these fights are going to knock your hair back at all, in the least bit. I'm looking at the card, and if this was a UFC Fight Pass, I think people have problems with it. It is what it is. That's what we got for this, though. So I'm taking BJ. I never bet against BJ. I never bet against BJ or Dan Henderson. I'm a goddamn American.
Do you know how you were saying the BJ has Perillo and he has
I think he has Wink and he has Jackson
and Perillo?
Yes.
Do you remember last time when he fought that weird stance with his head up?
Yeah.
He did have Perillo on his side, but he also had another team with him.
Yeah, I don't know.
But Perillo said, I didn't show him any of that stuff, so I don't know why. So it's weird when he's going to be with these two.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who's going to go with?
I know. I don't know. But this is they're really helping Yair out here with this matchup because everyone knows BJ Penn is. Mm-hmm. And if Rodriguez, especially being on Fox Sports, granted it's a Sunday, so the ratings will be interesting. You haven't seen a lot of promotional. And remember, the UFC also has to make these cards because contractually they owe Fox a certain amount of fights. So
I didn't see any promotion.
You haven't seen anything, right? I didn't know. I didn't know till this week. I'm like, there's nothing to talk about. I'm like, oh shit, we had a Sunday night card in Phoenix, and then you look at the UFC pay-per-view in Brooklyn. You look at this card. Hey, new owners, you gotta focus a little here. You're fucking our sport, man. You really are. You gotta learn the ropes. You just got to, I don't know, if they might want to reach out to someone who's just, and it's not me, but you got to reach out to someone who's so balls deep in this, who came from, Joe Silva got to start. He was a form troll. He was a form guy who's just a genius and knows the game inside and out. And remember, what made the UFC sport so big is forums, online, social media.
Grassroots.
The grassroots is what made this big. And they're disassociating with that community. I'm telling you, you're fucking yourselves. You guys need to embrace that, and you need to hire someone, and it's someone out there who they're on the keyboard now, and they're not a hater. They're not a troll. They're not a dark identity. They're not some weird fucking kid. It's someone out there who's like a Joe Silva, who's a young guy who's just, this is all he, 24/7. He'll give you stats, give you everything, and he could help someone like WME. Because when you have people who don't know the grassroots of where we came from, what we represent, and how we got to where we got, you're going to fuck yourself. You are, man. You're going to play yourself. It's scary, I'll be honest with you guys. And I'm an optimistic dude. I'm really not a hater right now. I love the UFC. There's no Big Brown Breakdown. There's no live show for me. My stand-up includes a lot of UFC bits. I love the UFC. What we're talking about here. I made my name off the UFC, so I want them to do well.
Yeah,
business is a booming, and it's before the UFC because of the UFC. However, they're in this huge Titanic right now, and they're nicking these little glaciers, and they're not sealing these up, and those little nicks turn into big issues. Mark Hunt, Reebok. All the promotion on Ronda, quantity over quality cards, trying to fucking honey dick us into the pay-per-view in Brooklyn. It adds up, man. Until finally that hardcore fan goes, I just can't, man. We worked too hard for this, and now we got here. Hopefully they figure it out. Jesus Christ, Yair Rodriguez is shredded in that picture. Look at him next to BJ Penn.
That's the reason why he looks even more shredded.
God, dog. It looks like a before and after for like those men health like supplement magazines. He is shred-tacular in that picture. Good Lord. I'm a fan of Rodriguez too, man. But I never bet against BJ. He's one of my favorite people on this planet.
He's supposed to be taller than BJ, but they make him shorter here.
Dude, those things, they lie all the time, those things. When Shane was fighting Brock, they're like 6'6" for 6'7". I was like, neither one's over 6'2".
Shane's 6'2"?
Shane's maybe 6'2".
Wow.
Yeah.
He just looks gigantic.
Yeah, he always wears those giant Air Maxes.
Is that why, really?
Yeah, he weighs in with his shoes on. Used to. All right, let's go to fan questions.
All right, fan questions. All right, Jay Sanchmo.
Hey, you guys send the fan questions. I appreciate it. You guys send some legit shit, man. They're getting really good. So
You were saying that, dude. You were saying
yeah,
that.
they're getting really, really good. So keep sending them. There's no Big Brown Breakdown, and the response we get from these things is crazy. I'll be honest with you guys. My goal when I sat down with my team was, man, I want to do a one-man show in 2017. I do all the stand-up. I do the Fire Kid Lives in front of theaters. My dream has always been to do a one-man show. And so the response to the Big Brown Breakdown has given me this kind of the first step to the one-man show. Granted, the Big Brown Breakdown Live is a one-man show, but, the way I'm going to format this thing is the first 30 minutes is my stand-up. Then we go into the breakdown just like we're doing now as far as we do UFC, MMA current events, and then I'll break down the fights, and then I'll do live fan questions. It's going to be sick, man.
Awesome.
And we're going to have special performances, special guest appearances. It's going to be dope. I won't let you guys down. So, and all this happens is because you guys, you're listening to this podcast, you're telling a friend. The MMA community has been nothing but supportive. So thank you guys. All right, let's jump into these fan questions.
Absolutely. So, Jay Sanchmo, how bad was it when you realized you weren't going to the NFL?
Oh, wow. That was a tough pill to swallow. I think, and I truly believe this, and you look at my life, it's funny. I bet when I'm 50, I'll sit back and it's going to be a lot more clear, but there's certain things in life where, when everything happens for a reason, I'm not here right now if I would have made it in the NFL, but, as a kid and, Steve Atwater and Junior Seau, and you have the aspirations to be in the NFL, and then you play Division I football, and everyone there, that's the only goal. And then, you get there and you realize, I don't know, you're not the next Dan Marino or Shannon Sharp. It's a tough pill to swallow, but you have nothing else to do but just kind of keep moving. As long as you're moving, you're doing something right. So I don't even think about it. I just keep on keeping on. I don't know, but that was a dream crusher. Yeah, that was I'll never forget watching my boy Joe Klopp, who I talk about him on the show all the time. I didn't make it in Buffalo. I got cut, and then my boy Klopp, it was his rookie season too. He was a second round draft pick, first pick in the second round for the St. Louis Rams, and so I flew out to watch him play. And I haven't been in an NFL game forever. I remember sitting in the stands with my brother and Klopp's family. We're watching Klopp run out onto the field for the first time. And boy, I had to pull my hat down because I was crying.
Wow. And
not because it was in a jealous thing at all. Klopp's a brother to me. And he's the biggest freak I've ever met athletically, physically too. I've never seen anything like it. But it was just like, dang, man. It just hit me a little bit there like, yeah, man, it's not happening.
So that's the moment when you're on the field, like seeing someone that someone's close to.
Yeah, like the season, like training camp, that's the first game of the season, and it's like you're not playing. Yeah. Like that game's over for you. That chapter's over. That was a tough one to swallow. All right, what else you got?
Next one is Elam Chris. What does Big Brown think is ultimately going to happen with the Fighters Association?
Good question. I just had a conversation with their lead guys last week. Listen, when it comes to this stuff, I'm super critical of them, and they know this. They're making the right moves, and now is the time to do it. You see everything that's going on with the UFC and the transition with the new owners and stuff like that. They're putting things into place that will make changes. For the first time ever, after I got off the phone, I went, God damn, these guys can do it. For the first time ever. And on those conversations, I'm asking some brutal questions. Yeah. Like, hey man, if I'm gonna be part of this, what's the plan? What are you doing here? And talking to Tim Kennedy and some of these other guys they have involved, these guys, I've listened to the other associations or unions, and these guys are so much further ahead, and their game plan and everything they're doing it's brilliant. And they have the right power players in place and the right support from Hollywood that you're going to need. And you're going to see some real cool changes that support the fighters, where the UFC will have no choice but to address it and make changes. We'll have no choice. I guarantee you.
Wow. That's saying a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Did you talk to him about the Bjorn thing to
Yep,
make him
sure did.
chill
Sure
back?
did talk to him about the Bjorn thing. I've said I can't be associated with it. If you're gonna you just can't. He has to be a silent partner, and they agreed 100%. And
Smart, man.
have you guys heard a word from Bjorn since then? No,
Crickets.
for a reason. All right, what else you got, brother?
All right. Kaziance. Is Big Brown still following the ketogenic diet? If so, how's it going? If not, why'd you stop?
Yes, I've been back on keto for super serious for about a week and change now. For the holidays, I literally ate whatever I want. Hence why I look like BJ Penn in that picture right there for a little bit. But I'm back on it now. I work out so much. I drop the water weight or the salt or whatever as fast as fuck. And it wasn't like a New Year's resolution thing. Just for the holidays, for a week I go nuts. But back on keto now, and I'll do it. I'll do it super strict to the first Big Brown live show, March 2nd. I'll do it till then, and then probably go off it for a week and then get back on it. I'll always be some form of keto, but I don't believe doing it for a long time. I think there's diminishing returns when you do that. Your body adapts to it, and my energy levels kind of got fucked up. But right now, that first week doing it, it's been a beast. It always is. But it works for me. I don't think it's for everybody, but I think it's a good start. And you don't know until you try it. But for me, it usually seems to work. It's pretty easy to follow, to be honest. It's not that tough.
Like it.
What else you got?
Okay, Wild Brucey Bruce. If you lived in Los Angeles and wanted to create the best MMA fighter possible, how would you and where would you train if you had 2 years?
These are tough because if I moved to LA, which I did, LA's a little spread out. You got kings and, you have some killers there, and you're going to need tough sparring partners. You just are. You can't do it like back in the day where you're the captain of your team and you just fought with random dudes, or I'm sorry, not fought, but trained with random dudes who aren't at a high level. You need other high level athletes around you so you can raise your bar in practice via Jacksons, via AK, ATT. And there's arguments say, well, Stipe's not doing it. I get that, but I'd say he's the exception. Look at Ronda. Look at, a lot of other guys. It catches up with you. So for him, I would say, you want that team chemistry. Like it's so important, especially when you move to a new city. You want that kind of team atmosphere. So in LA, because you got Pearlo, who's not in LA, but you got Pearlo, you got Kings, you got Black House, you got the Gracie Academy, you got Eddie Bravo 10th Planet, you got, everybody. I'm forgetting people. You got, it's all over, it's spread out. I did that. I drove all around the goddamn state to train with the best. I don't think that's the move. I think you find one team and then you bring in a specialist if you want to train with him. But I think you should have it all under one roof this day and age. And I don't know in LA the best gym to go to. I could be honest, to find that under one roof. But I also haven't been to Black House in a while, so I can't say Black House because at the time Black House was only good for me for sparring. It wasn't great for everything else, but maybe now it is. Kings I've never been to because Verdun was there, and obviously that relationship, especially when I was competing, I couldn't go there. So some people love Kings. Some say I'm an expert when it comes to fighting. I don't know. It's up to you, but I'd probably say avoid Glendale Fighting Gym. That one I can give you. I can, with my knowledge, I can give you that one. Probably avoid that gym for boxing. That I can recommend pretty confidently. So definitely. What else you got?
All right. Matt Harmison. What went through your head? This is a good question. What went through your head during the walkout of your fights?
Run, man.
Did you really think?
Turn around and run. Depends on the fight. No, I never run, but Depends on the fight. Seriously. Roy Nelson, Ultimate Fighter days, I was so cocky. I thought, oh, let's get this over with. I'm going to fucking destroy this guy. It was like this aura of invincibility. Like I didn't think anyone could touch
Against
me.
Roy.
Yeah.
Jesus,
yeah.
man.
I know. Young, cocky kid, man. And then, oh, man, bring back memories. Gonzaga, I remember walking out going, all right, man, even though I just murked 2 guys in a row, I remember walking out for the Gonzaga fight in Anaheim, California, Honda Center. Cain Velasquez, Brock Lesnar were the main event. Huge card, sold out. I'm on the main card. I think I kicked off the main card, and I'm walking out. I remember being like, all right, man, if you can't beat him, we're going to move on. We're going to move on. You're done fighting. Wow. Because I just remember being like, if you can't beat him, you're just going to be a guy. If you're just going to be a guy, this probably isn't the business for you. And that fight went great. That was the only fight I've ever been in the zone where it was like I got done. It was like out of body experience.
Apparently, it's a real thing, the zone.
It's a real thing. Yeah, and I don't know how to get there. Otherwise, I'd probably still be fighting. And then I'm trying to think of other fights. Arlovsky fight, I remember I was terrified. I remember my good friend Tim Tebow came and saw me pre-fight in the locker room. I had tears in my eyes. He's like, what the frick is going on? And I was just like, dude, I'm terrified, man. I don't want to do this. And I went out there and you saw how that fight went. Granted, I beat him. The judges begged to differ. First time back in Vancouver after that. Oh, God. Hey, judges, I invite all you guys, VIP tickets, and I will see you backstage and slap the shit out of you. And then Travis Brown fight, for the first time, I was really like, all right, man, this probably isn't for you. And I couldn't get up for the fight, and there's a lot of red flags there. And again, things happen for a reason. It's very strange the way things work out. Could not be happier with my life right now. Things are, who would have fucking thought, man? All right, keep going.
Actually, about that, so were you ever excited and happy during a walkout? What is always just the thought of, oh, this is going to be this?
No, really, the only time it set in where I was like, oh shit, like what are we doing? Was Travis Brown, Arlovsky. Other fight. I've always been scared to fight. As far as scared, like always been like, God, I hope. Because I was so scared to lose because I felt a lot of pressure. But you look at the Roy Nelson fight, the Crow Cop fight. Chase Gormley, I was so nervous because in front of my home crowd, and I felt like if I lost that fight, I wouldn't have a career at all. And it was right after I lost to Roy. It just depends on the fight, man. There's times where I was excited, for sure.
And happy.
Happy's a tough. You know what? On the Ultimate Fighter, I was happy to fight because ignorance is bliss, right? Because I've never experienced the fighting's all about peaks and valleys. I've never experienced those valleys. It's all I fight, I win. I fight, I win. Similar with Ronda. She fights, she wins. She fights, she wins. When you lose, that's when you find out what exactly the sport is about. When you're winning, it's like, oh my God, this is great. Yeah, isn't it? You could be playing anything. You could be golf, bowling. Think about anything you've ever done. When you're good at it and you're constantly winning, like, dude, this is the best thing ever. And then when you lose, think of a video game think if you were playing a video game and you constantly were losing, like, fuck this game. What? Mm. Now, in fighting, think of it, if you're always winning, like, hell yeah, this is awesome, man. And then when you lose, you're like, oh my God, this sucks. And that's fighting. There's no higher highs. There's no lower lows. It is the loneliest gig in the world. It's the loneliest gig in the world.
I can absolutely imagine it would be, yeah.
Let's do a few more.
Cool. This one's funny. Nandusky. Big Brown, will you do a breakdown on Soulja Boy and Chris Brown? LMAO.
Why do people
many people have been asking this. That's why I had to ask this, because and people are even angry, like, why won't you do
Why won't you do a breakdown of their fight? Hey, man, there's nothing to break down. I mean, I can break down the rap videos. I don't know what you guys want me to break down. I've never seen either one of them compete in anything physically ever. There's no tape. There's nothing. There's nothing to break down. This is a complete shit show. It would ruin all my credibility if I broke that shit down. I have a hard time breaking down CM Punk fights, let alone fucking Chris Brown. Listen, my money's on Chris Brown. How about that? I think Chris Brown, the one, this is so fucked up. The one thing we do know is Chris is scrapping. And I have physical evidence. I know I sound like Barack Obama right now. I have physical evidence
You do.
that he beat Rihanna, and that's all we have. So, based off that, it's so fucked up. Based off that, I'd give Chris Brown the nod here.
Man.
I don't think either one of them are tough guys. It's just a complete circus.
I'm with you though. I take Chris Brown too.
I got Chris Brown. He feels just a little more crazy. I think he has some mental health issues. I think he's crazy, man. And he can name the best dance move you've ever seen, Soulja Boy. And also his name's Soulja Boy. That's kind of a red flag. Yeah. Chris Brown's way more athletic. God damn it. I fuck both of those guys. Chris Brown makes some jams, though. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. And I love Soulja Boy on Love and Hip Hop LA. I love him on that. Rubans. If you guys know the show, that's what he says. But I like both those guys as far as entertainers. Chris Brown makes some fucking hits. He's so talented. Don't give a flying fuck if they fight, though. I'll legally stream it and watch it for the shit show.
Yeah, I'd probably watch it too.
Maybe we should do like a fight campaign in here for it. Be hilarious.
Dude, that would be freaking awesome.
You know what? That's a good idea. What else you got, man?
Beep. Hey, Brendan, we see athletes getting older, breaking down with injuries and being forced to stop. But you still training hard and seem to be healthy. Is that genetic, or did you approach your training with a different mentality? And what would you teach your son about training today compared to the mistakes you did? Good. Love from Sweden.
Damn.
Yes. It's a long one.
It's a lock and loaded question. I think I was super fortunate where I didn't have any crazy injuries. I never really tore muscles or shoulder injuries or knees, even after all the years of football and fighting. I was in the weight room, in fourth grade. Like I started so young, but not like weird. I was just obsessed with fitness and being around the guys and lifting weights and trying to improve. And so I think my foundation started when I was real young, and maybe that's why I don't get injured. And I've always been in nutrition and kind of eating right and discipline and getting sleep. I'm a guy, if I don't get 8 hours, I freak out. So I think all that adds up, and I'm just super fortunate too, where I haven't had any crazy freak accidents too. So a lot of it's genetics. As far as training with my son, it all depends what sport he's into. As far as training goes, his little ass isn't going to be fighting, so I don't need to worry about that. But I can help in football and nutrition. I think the biggest thing is nutrition, because my dad, they just didn't know. They didn't know. Oh, you need, like, for instance, milk's terrible for you. Dairy is awful for you. There's so much sugar and fat. When he's a baby, he needs the fats for his brain and to grow and stuff like that, and the sugar and the calories are good. But when you're a kid, teenager, that milk, there's so much antibiotics and fucking shit and sugar, and dairy causes acne and fat. And I was told, drink milk, you're going to get big and strong like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, no, Arnold's on so much D-ball. It doesn't matter what the fuck he drinks. Like and sugar and the carbs, and I'm just a lot more knowledgeable than my dad was. And it's not the knock on him, but they just didn't know. So, like I rolled my ankle, and in college, my dad told me to run it off.
Oh my God.
And I did. I missed the training camp. So I didn't know. I thought my dad knew. He just didn't know. He's like, oh, you just got to get the blood flowing and then go run it off. Hey, man, definitely not what you do. Missed training camp because of that. So there's just certain things with my experience. My dad didn't play sports at a high level where I have, and I've seen it all. I've dealt with it all. I've had a friend deal with it. So I'm just a lot more knowledgeable. That will help him big time. If he's into sports, who knows? What are you going to do? One more? Is that it?
Well, we have two more. Or I just picked two more.
Two more? Let's do two more and we'll get out of here.
All right. Joseph Anthony, 59. Would you rather see Raiders or Chargers come to LA? Yes, I know the Chargers are coming from the perspective of the economy and a football fan.
I like the football questions. Chargers are coming for sure.
Yeah.
Raiders are going to Oakland for sure. Raiders are not coming here. It's not even an option. It's 100% they're going to Vegas. Chargers come to L.A. Listen, L.A., barely welcomes the L.A. Rams, who started here in L.A. They barely climb onto the Rams, and the Rams kind of suck. The Chargers, it does nothing for me. For them, it's a business move and sponsor opportunities, and Homeboy paid for the stadium, so they're not going to have a lease on the stadium. Kroenke. So, business-wise, it gets to make sense for them. It's kind of a bummer. I've always known them as the San Diego Chargers, only the San Diego Chargers. Why do we need two teams in L.A.? That's fucking crazy. Like I said, it's tough enough for the L.A. Rams to get momentum here. I mean, people really don't give a fuck about the Rams. They really don't. The biggest team in this town are still the Raiders. The Raiders gear's everywhere here. The Raiders,
yes,
by far, are the biggest thing here, will always be the biggest thing here. And they're going to go to Oakland. San Diego does nothing to me. I think, you pissed off the San Diego fans. The LA fans really don't give a fuck. USC is still bigger than both of those teams as far as fan favorites, and UCLA. A pro team here really doesn't make sense. I tried liking the Rams. I don't know. But the Chargers coming here make no sense. And Oakland to Vegas, that's happening. And they got a legit team. They're going to be really, really good with Carr. So Chargers coming here, they might as well just deleted the entire team. It does not matter. No one here will bat an eye to it. They just won't. Unless they get really, really good and go undefeated, then they might jump on it. But why have two teams here? I don't know. It's silly.
Why is it better that the Raiders go to Oakland?
To LA, you mean? I mean, to Vegas?
Or Vegas, yeah.
Well, we're going to have three teams here?
I mean, if any team, the Raiders would be the best here.
The Raiders would be the smartest choice. Yeah. That's out the window because we already have two teams here. But they were going to Vegas the whole time. So, Raiders are one of those teams that have fans in every city, and the majority of the fans are in LA. Vegas is only 2 hours away, so people from LA can go to Vegas to watch those 8 home games. They're going to probably sell out every game. Raiders are the original LA team.
Yeah, all the cholos.
Everybody.
That's the number one.
Everybody. I see more Raiders gear than anything here. Mm-hmm. All right, last one.
Okay, this is something we kind of touched on earlier, but Languasco 15, what do you think of the lack of big fights on the books to start the year? Very unlike the old UFC brass, who usually like to start the year off with a bang. And what do you think about the talks that WME want to shrink the number of events per year to increase the quality, which you were saying earlier?
Yeah, that'd be my game plan for them. It's just they're going through this transition period. Like I said, they need to hire guys on their team who know the sport from the ground roots up. They really do, and it seems like they're kind of disassociation with that brand and with those people, and I think it's a bad move. The UFC's always kicked the year off in a big way, and they just haven't done it so far because I think their head's just underwater right now, and hopefully it gets better. I hope it does. And less fights would make way more sense because you're oversaturating the market. So it's the right move. Hopefully they do it. Is that it?
That's it.
All right, guys, that's the Big Brown Breakdown. Next week's a little tricky because Brian Kell and myself go on tour. We leave for Vancouver Tuesday night. Then we're in Vancouver on Wednesday, Thursday of next week. We're in Seattle on Friday, and we're in Portland on Saturday. So get tickets right now, tfatk.com. Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, all next week. The Fight and the Kid are live. So I need to figure out if we're going to do a Big Brown Breakdown next week. Who knows? But either way, we'll figure it out. Thank you guys for listening. All those tour dates, everything you need, shirts, whatever, tfatk.com. And then also the Big Brown Breakdown gear will be dropping soon as well. And I'll have news for you guys next week when the Big Brown Live is happening here in Los Angeles for the first time, March 2nd. I will have the venue, the ticket info, all that stuff happening for you guys next week. Thank you for listening. This is the Big Brown Breakdown.